Hi everyone. So welcome to Mastermind Roundtable. So today I'm so glad to have Professor Michael Willis coming a long way from Cambridge University. So Professor, could you give a brief introduction of yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. So I'm a management practice associate professor at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School in the accounting group. I'm also the program director for the Executive Master of Accounting program at the Cambridge Judge Business School.
Thank you, Professor. And I know you have been dedicating so much time in the ESG or sustainability area, and also design and teach, right, to a broad range of students, including fresh graduates all the way up to board directors.
That's right. Yes.
And in terms of, the key sustainability financial reporting areas, corporate governance, ESG risk and risk management, etc. Right?
Yes.
Can you share a little bit more about, how you actually helped those organizations to navigate all these changes and challenges?
Yeah, good. So I'm an accounting professor. So we study information as a good. It has a supply and it has a demand. And in recent years, sustainability reporting has really grown in importance and prominence for a lot of organizations. But it's been around for a long time, Morris.
Yes, it is.
There's been voluntary disclosure frameworks for years and years, and lots of people doing really good work in writing standards that companies could use to tell their sustainability story. But in recent years, more and more countries around the world have adopted mandatory sustainability reporting standards and are in the process of doing that. So it's become top of mind for sustainability professionals, for finance professionals, for accounting professionals, and hopefully boards and C-suite as well.
So you talk about regulations, okay, because I know you have been working with organizations across Asia, Africa, Middle East, right? What are the trends that you have observed in these areas in terms of regulation and their developments?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So the global landscape regarding regulation of sustainability reporting has been changing so quickly.
Yes.
And from the accounting side, we're not used to that, Morris. Accounting standards don't change very quickly.
Yes.
It takes years and years. It takes time. We have, for example, with IFRS 17 now, that took 20 years.
Yes.
But sustainability reporting has developed very quickly.
Yes.
And globally, it's been, there have been sometimes uncertain signals about the path of development.
Yes.
Sort of starting down a path and then backing down the path, for example, in the EU. I think that for companies in Asia, ISSB standards are likely going to be sort of the most significant set of standards that companies are paying attention to and trying to implement now.
Yes.
But for companies that might be, let's say, Asian headquartered companies with a large EU subsidiary, they still might need to be aware of what's going on in the EU.
Yes.
Or for an Asian subsidiary of an EU parent, would still need to be aware of. So there's sort of, the direction of travel, I think, is relatively clear for most Asian companies. We're looking to ISSB adoption.
Yes.
But they'll still need to keep an eye on the changing landscape globally.
Yes. Spot on, right? Because the regulation has been changing so rapidly, it is actually a huge challenge for most organizations, even for those listed companies, to adapt to the changes and also adopt those changes. How well are they in the process, in this journey? We all know that this is actually a hugely resources-intensive project. But I'm worried about those smaller companies. How do they adopt to it? How manage all these changes internally?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
It's a struggle for large companies and a struggle for smaller companies, and those somewhat different. And I think that's part of why we're seeing some countries give a bit of relief on the timeline for SMEs to adopt reporting requirements. I just came from Singapore, and that's recently been announced for smaller companies in Singapore, to give them just a little bit more time, because this is new for everyone, and we're still developing best practices. I think of it as building the airplane while we're flying it. Right?
Yes.
So it's going to take some time to hash out some of these things,
right?
So that SMEs can take advantage of it at a low cost. There are significant challenges around data availability.
Yes.
Significant estimation. For example, how do I estimate my scope 3? That's a challenge for any company, for large companies and for small companies.
Right.
I think incremental progress.
Yes.
Getting started now, and especially companies that have been given some relief, They shouldn't just sit back and relax. They need to prepare for that.
I asked this question is actually, from time to time we heard about some scandals in the accounting industry in some big companies, right? Greenwashing, things like that, right? It's all because they just got so limited time to get things right. Of course, for some organizations, they may just want to take shortcuts, right? Well, how do you think about this? How do you see this actually? The accounting frogs.
That's an excellent question, Morris. So you're absolutely right. And on the financial reporting side that we understand, right, from the accounting background, we have companies releasing financial statements, but we know that executives have incentive to manipulate that data, right, and an opportunity to do so. Yes. And when those two things are present, then we need to have trust enhancers, like audit committees, like auditors, audit regulation, regulatory enforcement that can levy penalties, maybe private litigation, all of these things that bring discipline and trust into the disclosure ecosystem.
Yes.
Until those are present in the sustainability reporting ecosystem, then I think the information released is ultimately, it may be correct, it may be true, right?
Yes.
It may be a company is doing lots of great things on sustainability and climate resilience, etc., and they're disclosing those things, but until the entire ecosystem develops, it's difficult to say how much I trust that report, that sustainability report.
Indeed. This is also related to the infrastructures, tools, framework, right?
Yes.
And how much money spent in building up those infrastructure and tools, right?
Yes.
Is this going to be a big burden for most organizations in coming years?
It will be a cost, right? However, if this effort delivers better information, trustworthy information to investors and stakeholders, then the benefit can easily justify the cost.
True.
Okay, so I like to reframe this, and there are certainly opportunities here as well.
Yeah.
And I think maybe one of the biggest one is learning.
Yeah.
Right, because accountants understand reporting.
Yeah.
Right, and they understand assurance. They understand data. Do they understand climate change? Do they understand physical risk and transition risk from climate change? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's so important for that kind of learning to take place around the organization.
Yeah.
And I think I do see a lot of companies that are, through this learning process, their eyes are being opened to more sustainable options that aren't necessarily more costly.
Yeah, true. And after all, the reason why I asked this question is I do believe most organizations will spend money to do this right, because it's related to the long-term resilience of this company. For listed organizations in particular, because one of their stakeholders are the investors.
Yes.
They want to make the investors happy. They want to meet the expectation of their investors. So my next question is, so based on your past experience, Professor, how do the investor expectations shaping the landscape of sustainability and all the behaviors of these corporates?
That's an excellent question, and I think that the answer is it's kind of complex. Because when you talk about investors, well, there are lots of different kinds of investors.
Yes.
There are index funds.
Yes.
Right? There are hedge funds, right? So there are activist investors.
Yes.
So to say investors, already we're sort of collapsing that into a single group, when in fact there are a broad array of investors with different preferences.
So true.
And that varies by company, it varies by sector, it varies around the world. I think that in the sustainability reporting world, investors are very important stakeholders. But they're not the only stakeholders.
Yes.
Okay. Their regulators will be paying attention. I hope they're paying attention. Will be paying attention to these disclosures. Potentially, activist groups, NGOs, academic groups that might bring additional scrutiny. And we have seen this. You know, for example, when companies publish their climate reporting, environmental groups may take a particular interest in these reports and scrutinize them from that perspective. So I think it's important that, yes, companies try to understand the array of investors that they're dealing with and what their expectations are to the extent that they can, right? Sometimes investors give mixed signals as well, so that's not always easy.
Yes.
But also the expectations of other stakeholders. So this is going to be just like so many issues in business. How do you balance the needs and the expectations of different stakeholders at different times when there may be uncertainty? It's a challenge.
That's exactly one of the major challenges I heard from those, ESG practitioners in big corporates, right? There are so many stakeholders. They got different voices, right? And another actually important stakeholder is asset managers. Okay, so a friend of mine told me that, Morris, you know what? ESG is no longer so frequently used because of the political sensitivity in US, right? And because also because of the anti-ESG activities from some asset managers. So that's why nowadays we use sustainability more often to replace ESG, right? So that's another area that the company needs to manage, right? And talking about the the management of these stakeholders, financial leaders, executives in corporations play a very significant role, right? But as what you just said, not everyone understands clearly of what sustainability is all about. What are the challenges that you have seen in some organizations coming from those financial executives or leaders saying, okay, Professor, actually, I don't really know how to manage this. Can you show me some clues? Did you have that experience?
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example. So probably the area of sustainability reporting that's the most well-developed and has been adopted by the most companies is climate reporting. And climate is just one piece of the sustainability reporting world, right? But it is, in my opinion, the most developed. And so, when companies sort of get started on this effort, I've seen some challenges. Like, for example, the finance team will say to me, this is coming, this is important, but my board doesn't understand.
Oh, yeah.
They don't understand that there is a new era of transparency coming.
Yes.
And they don't really understand the significance of this.
Yes.
And so boards need to understand climate. Because if it's going to be on the agenda at the board meeting, they need to understand. They don't need to be a climate scientist.
Yes.
But if you want your business to be around in 2030 or 2040 and 2050, you need to take some steps today to assess resilience to different climate scenarios, prepare for those scenarios, and make some disclosures about those scenarios. So that's sort of a big picture challenge, right? Is the buy-in from the top, the learning around the organization. Another challenge is sort of who owns this sustainability reporting stuff, right? Because like I said, accountants get data and finance gets data and assurance and they understand that. Sustainability gets sustainability stuff, right? But when we're talking about things like climate scenario analysis, that's an enterprise-wide. Because you have to assess the entire value chain for resilience, right? So getting the right people in the room, having the right person accountable, right, can be a challenge. And then once companies get into the details, and I find that a lot of times around big companies, especially, there are these pockets of real passion. So people really get interested in this topic, and they feel passionate about sustainability. They get into it and they're working, but then they get frustrated by lack of data, data quality, data availability, and I think part of this framework, this mental framework, needs to change just a little bit because accounting and finance people, we want to get the right answer, right? We want the right number, we want the right answer. But when we're dealing with, let's say, climate scenarios in 2050 or a transition plan to net zero in 2050,
the model isn't there yet.
It's not there yet. But the point is, even if we can just make a qualitative assessment of different scenarios, identify opportunities for investment and resilience, and make incremental progress in the sustainability reporting journey, I think that should be the focus.
Totally agree. And talking about why those financial leaders have all these kind of challenges is because of data gap. If we're talking about accounting, those financial data are there. But if we're talking about sustainable financial reporting, as you said, some model or some data are even not there.
That's right.
So that's why sometimes you say the board actually they don't understand what you're talking about, right? So the next question I want to ask is, what is the trend that companies will integrate, ESG or sustainability related data, if they have, right, into their ERP system or financial system to make their reporting easier, right? At least when they go into the boardroom, they have some sort of data to show to the board directors. How do you see this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And again, the entire data ecosystem is still immature. We're still in early days of this. And remember, again, it takes accounting standards and the data to support the reporting under those standards decades to develop. But there are really bright people working on this, and there are really opportunities for the provision and assurance around good quality data that I think will be there. So I'm not too concerned about the data side developing. I think it will get there. What I'm more concerned about is the mindset inside of organizations, the willingness to learn, the willingness to be open to, for example, a lot of companies, they have a CapEx plan, right? A medium term or longer term CapEx plan.
Yes.
Are they aware of the sustainable options that they could fold into their CapEx plan that might not necessarily cost more?
Yes.
Right? But that might result in energy efficiency or other types of savings. So I think there's a different type of thinking at the operational and strategic level. And that will feed into the disclosures, right? Because we want to get, the intent of, say, ISSB standards is to, get investors decision relevant information. But if investors care about that information, then that should feed back into firms making more sustainable decisions.
Right, agree, yeah. I mean, especially with so many regulations, say IFRS related standards, the TCFD, right, ISSB standards, right? So far we do have a series of relevant standards and regulations in place. It's just that we need more time for companies to do things right? So how do you see the future trend in next 3 to 5 years? The landscape in the Asia or UK?
That's a great question. And when you said we need more time, that's really interesting because I was delivering a session to a group of environmental professionals some time ago, and they weren't business people or finance people. They were scientists, environmental scientists who were working mostly in environmental NGOs. And we were talking about the development of the sustainability reporting ecosystem. I was talking about how it's going to take years to develop these standards and assurance. And they said, years? We don't have years. We need this 10 years ago. We need to move faster. And of course, when you talk to the finance and accounting, it's like, we need more time. So there's a tension here, right? Because we do need to take action on climate. So predictions are difficult, and if you asked me 3 years ago what would happen, I probably wouldn't have predicted what we've seen today, right? So things definitely change. So I do think that there is steady progress towards developing, particularly the climate reporting ecosystem. Okay. I think that will happen globally for the most part, with the exception of the U.S. But I think that will continue. As far as broader sustainability reporting beyond climate into things like nature and human capital, I think that will develop as well, a little more slowly. But in the next 3 to 5 years, I think that we will see better data. We'll see best practices being developed in the climate space. We'll see lots more companies disclosing their scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, etc., with some level of assurance depending on the country. And hopefully putting some serious thought into their transition plan to net zero, taking action on that transition plan, and being held accountable for those actions. That's what I hope happens.
I mean, can't agree more, And personally, I think to make this progress faster, another key factor is those corporate owners or senior executives, they got to realize the long-term benefits they're going to realize from being sustainable, right? And actually, I read one of your articles, written back in 2018. There's an example there I want to cite. It's very interesting, right? So it's about a metal mining company. In your article, you mentioned that the accounting team may care about, the restoration cost. Say after I finish the mining, right, I have to restore the site, right? How much does it cost? Right? That sounds the biggest questions that the CEO, CFO want to answer, right? But in fact, under the context of sustainability, you should think about what if the sea level rise by 2 feet or 5 feet, right? What would actually impact the cost of mining? There could be even more far-reaching consequences. And if the CEO, CFO is long enough in their visions, they will say, right, we are actually taking care of the wrong questions. We should look at from the sustainability perspectives as well, right?
That's right.
So I guess that's the gap.
Yes.
Not all companies are there yet.
That's absolutely. Definitely not all companies are there yet.
Yes.
But the smart companies are getting started,
Yes.
right? And it's the same. You're right. It is a similar type of thinking as asset retirement obligations, right? That's a long-term cash flow with uncertain timing, uncertain amount, right?
Yeah.
Climate scenario analysis is like that, but it is more complicated, right?
Yeah.
Because we're thinking about what does the world look like in 2030 or 2040, et cetera, with respect to key attributes of physical risk like sea levels, precipitation, weather,
Yes.
typhoons,
Yes.
cyclones, et cetera, and attributes of transition risk, which carbon prices, right?
Yes.
And smart companies understand scenarios. We're used to using scenarios. These are a little bit different, right? But they help us see what the world might look like.
Yes.
And then today, what steps do I need to take to prepare for that type of future?
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
So, Professor, do you have any important message, because you're an expert in this area, you want to give to our audience before we leave?
Keep a learning mindset. Okay, so if you're in the space of accounting and finance, there's a lot to learn in the area of climate. There will be more to learn as we start to think about nature, for example, and
Yes.
biodiversity,
Yes.
about social disclosures around human capital. For all of us, it's a good idea to remember that getting started, taking incremental progress
Yes.
is the important thing right now.
Agree. I mean, like it or not, right? We all know that sustainability or ESG-related financial reporting is going to reshape the entire financial accounting, not just financial accounting. I mean, it's the entire corporate world, right? So as I said, like it or not, you've got to have a plan, right? Don't wait for too late, right? I mean, thank you so much again for Professor your time today. I mean, on this topic, we can just keep talking for ages. I hope next time we have more time to share more details with our audience, okay?
Thank you, Morris. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, see you.